The NBA Western Conference is going to be a dogfight this year. You have your usual contenders, but a couple of teams that are ready to make that leap into contender status. Let's get into it. The Denver Nuggets are your defending champions, and they will open the season off with the Los Angeles Lakers. But they also lost a key contributor in Bruce Brown, who left for a 2-year, $45 million deal with the Indiana Pacers. But the Denver Nuggets aren't going anywhere. As long as you have Nikola Jokic, you are a contender. And Jamal Murray looked to take another leap last year in the playoffs, especially in the finals. They still have Michael Porter Jr., and they have some key contributors off the bench. We've seen the late season heroics of Christian Brown, who is a rookie and looks to continue to make that sophomore jump. You also have the Phoenix Suns, who gave the Nuggets the most trouble last year, even with a very lousy roster led by Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. They obviously go out and add a Brad Beal this offseason, but Devin Booker looks to continue to grow. There's been a lot of the narratives about Devin Booker not being able to play defense or he's not a good defender, and that's just not true anymore. Devin Booker in the playoffs was the best two-way player in the playoffs this past season. Kevin Durant still looks like Kevin Durant, and the Suns will be playing at a faster pace this year. Yes, they do not have a traditional point guard, but when you have ball handlers like Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, you don't really need that traditional point guard. The Suns, I imagine, will look to continue to push the pace that we have seen them in the past. Think back to the Steve Nash era of the 7 seconds or less Suns. Chris Paul is not there anymore, so he won't be slowing down the offense. And just from the one preseason game that we have seen from this team, it looks like they're going to be getting up and down the court, which opens up driving attacks and open jump shots for Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. The Los Angeles Lakers were a offseason winner for me. With the additions of Gabe Vincent and Jackson Hayes, I think this will get back to the Lakers of the 2020 year, the year that they won the championship. They give Gabe Vincent the big contract to lure him away from Miami, and Jackson Hayes gives them some much-needed more rim protection like they had with Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis in 2020. They obviously also keep Austin Reeves, who is a very good player, all jokes aside. And obviously, going into year 20 with LeBron, you should be able to rest him with this roster. And if Anthony Davis can stay healthy, and yes, that is a big if and a big ask, this Lakers team could realistically finish top 3 in the West and be right there in the thick of things towards the end, pushing for a Western Conference Finals and an NBA Finals appearance. LeBron isn't getting any younger, so the Lakers are going to continue to push while they still have him and while he's still a productive player. At this time, this is when we really thought Anthony Davis would take over as the lead guy. And we saw it last year when he was healthy, that he looked to be that number one guy. The problem with Anthony Davis is just always comes back to health. But with the additions of Jackson Hayes, that should help Anthony Davis down low and not have to take such a beating down in the low post. A team that I'm really high on this year is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I believe it's because Anthony Edwards will be in the MVP discussion all season long. And I don't think people realize how good of a play the Karl-Anthony Towns lob to Rudy Gobert was in the NBA last year. It was one of the best plays ran by a team all of last year. And the Timberwolves also have a really good nucleus of players. They bring back Naz Reid. They still have Mike Conley. They have Jordan McLaughlin, who is a really solid backup point guard. They also have Jaden McDaniels, who's a good wing player. It was just an odd fit and an odd year last year with the Gobert trade. But I think after a full season and a full off season of him being in the organization, that we'll continue to see those steps and see why the Minnesota Timberwolves paid so much for Rudy Gobert's defensive rim protection and his lob threat ability. I also believe Cat will be healthy this season, which will help this Timberwolves team as well. And just another year of Anthony Edwards being in the league, changing his number to 5. That number means a lot to him, so he'll definitely be playing with an edge this year. Ant-Man never takes a play off. That's why I think a lot of people love him, and he's just one of those guys that you ask him a question, he's going to give it to you straight. And Anthony Edwards can get you any bucket at any point in the game, at anywhere on the court. Anthony Edwards has continued to prove that he can be the number one option on a very good team. The Timberwolves haven't had much team success, but Anthony Edwards is really one of the best young players. And this year, not just him, but I think this Timberwolves team and this Timberwolves organization takes that leap into not just playoff contender this year, but going to the future and going forward, a finals contender. This isn't a prediction video, but I do believe the Timberwolves do finish top 5 in the Western Conference. The Oklahoma City Thunder are a popular pick to make the playoffs, not just make the playoffs, but finish top 5, top 4 in the West, and it's with good measure. SGA is a 30-point per game scorer. You have Josh Giddey, who's a very solid all-around player. You have Lou Dort, who's a 3-and-D wing. Chet Holmgren is back this year. And in the very little that we've seen in the preseason of him against Wemby, Chet Holmgren looks to be the real deal. And I think there is a real discussion to be had that Chet Holmgren not only is in the Rookie of the Year discussion, I think Chet Holmgren has a chance to be in the DPOY discussion as a rookie. Yes, he missed all of last year with his injury, so technically he's a rookie this year. But being just in the league for a year and being around it for a year definitely helps. We've seen it with Blake Griffin and David Robinson, just to name a few. But I really think Chet Holmgren is everything that basketball fans thought he would be coming out of Gonzaga and what people that keep up with high school recruiting and college basketball thought he would be in the NBA. No, he has not played a minute of actual regular season basketball. But just from what the very little we've seen in the preseason game against the Spurs, Chet looks to be the real deal. He is what we see the league going to is in a positionless era of 7-footer that can handle the ball, that can rim protect, and shoot the 3-ball. SGA, too, has only made the playoffs once in his career. That was when he was with the early on when Chris Paul was there, Another issue, people are putting SGA in these categories of he is the best shooting guard, best whatever, point guard, whatever position you want to label him, because him and Josh Giddey both really, if you watch Thunder games, both really handle the rock and run the offense. The thing with SGA, yes, he's a 30-point per game scorer, but he gets to the line, and that is a critical fact when you're trying to take that leap from non-playoff team to playoff team, is stealing points at the free throw line and stealing points late at the free throw line. SGA is everything that the Thunder wished that he could have turned into when they traded for him from the Clippers. And Josh Giddey just continues to take leap after leap on the offensive end. Lou Dort, I think, is living off of just name in terms of defense now. He's still a solid defender, but he's not what he was early on in his career. And it's kind of crazy to say because he hasn't been in the league for long. But his 3-ball has really continued to just get better, and that spaces the floor for SGA. He doesn't really shoot the 3, and Josh Giddey, who's not that good of a 3-point shooter. You throw in Chet in this, who can stretch the floor, and then you throw in both of the Jalen Williamses, who looked really good last year, and this Thunder team is going to make a statement this season. A team that's in a make-or-break year is the Los Angeles Clippers, and I think that they are due for a setback. Kawhi and Paul George have battled injuries their whole career, and as you get older, that's not going to change. The Clippers roster as a whole, and even their coaching staff, is really good, and you could argue it's in the top tier of the NBA. But when you're relying on 2 stars that are just injury-prone, the questions are going to be asked. Even Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, was on Paul George's podcast and even said it starts with you and Kawhi in terms of what their season looks like in terms of just them being healthy. They bring back Russell Westbrook, who was really good for them, actually. Where his shooting number's great at times, no, but that's the Russell Westbrook experience. He's going to fight for rebounds. He's going to make the correct pass, and he's just going to play with a lot of energy, even this late into his career, and that's respectable. But I just don't know if I can trust this Clippers roster one more time. Everyone's been waiting on the Battle of LA for the playoffs, and it just hasn't happened, whether it be due to Lakers getting eliminated, Clippers getting eliminated, or just one or both teams just being injured and missing the playoffs completely. The last thing I wanted to touch on was the Dallas Mavericks. They traded for Kyrie at the deadline last year. They re-signed him to a 3-year deal this offseason. And they didn't get a full offseason together, so I want to see how it plays out. But they just look like an awkward fit trying to figure out how to play next to each other last year. 2 ball-dominant players. Kyrie has played with that before in a LeBron James, but Luka isn't LeBron James. Luka is not a great defender. Luka is a ball-dominant player. Kyrie can play off the ball, but Kyrie's at his best when he is on the ball as well. The reason that Kyrie works so well with LeBron and even KD when they were healthy is that both those guys can play off ball, get to their spots, and cut to the basket. Luka's not doing that off ball when Luka is rarely even off the ball. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. If their season starts slow, what will they do? Will there be Kyrie trade rumors again, or will Mark Cuban just look to add more at the deadline to try to fix it? They bring in Grant Williams to help on the defensive side and to hopefully space out the floor a little bit for those guys. But it's definitely a if not now, when for the Dallas Mavericks, who have been kind of stuck in neutrals since that 2011 title. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And let me know down in the comments, out of these 6 teams, which one do you think has the highest ceiling and which one do you think has the lowest floor?